else is for me and my wife. That's his attitude. I, on the other hand, I'm a Christian, I'm a believer, and I believe that it is a good thing to leave an inheritance for your children. So that's an important part for me. So my question to you, CT, is what do you want?
You're assuming I know what I want, isn't it?
I'm not assuming that. In fact, that is one of the first questions we ask at any time that we're running a personal finance class. Why? Because what are you investing for? What are you spending your heart? You guys wake up at ungodly hours. I mean, I was on the road trying to come here and I was wondering what time you guys started.
They are godly, boy. You're a believer.
No,
when a believer tells you they are ungodly,
as though God goes to sleep.
No, let me just say this. What time did you guys wake up this morning?
God doesn't sleep.
Well, compared to the rest of us. But anyway, I was saying, if you have to have a goal in mind.
As to why
That's the key. So when we ask that question, what do you want? We are not being general. We are being specific. So let me speak to Kenyans who love real estate, because I'm sure every Kenyan has I even mentioned a plot, and that one resonated with Ndu over here.
Immediately asked where is the plot?
Where is that plot? She wanted to know where it is that I can purchase it. So we are specific. You want to live in a house. Which one? So then you say, okay, a 2-bedroom house. Good. Where is it? Because a 2-bedroom house down here on Mombasa Road and a 2-bedroom house on the other side of Nairobi in Kitsuru are not the same thing. So which one do you want? Because the plan for this one here on Mombasa Road and the plan for that one in Kitsuru are completely different. So which one do you want? When you set the goal, then now you make an investment strategy towards it. That is the key to the wealth creation journey. It is goal-based investment.
Okay.
That's it.
Where's the reality? How do you put in now that dose of reality? So, this is what you want. You want really right now, you're here, and you say you want to be in that Kitsuru side.
Yeah.
You've never even been to Westlands.
Yes. Go to Westlands. I mean, sometimes that's...
So there's no such a thing as an unrealistic goal.
No. How do I know this? If there's another human being who has done it, why not you? Why not? And guess what? Before all these other human beings, somebody was the first to get there. So what's stopping you? And I honestly believe that we are truly unaware of our capabilities because we don't push ourselves. We never put ourselves into an uncomfortable situation. And it is in that place of discomfort. In fact, that's why we don't set goals. You know why? Because if you set a goal, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. You could actually miss it. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
If you say, I want to have an A in this class, I want to actually pass this class, whatever it is in school for the students. And then it means now you're holding yourself to a certain standard. It means you could miss it. But guess what? You could also achieve it. So if you don't set the goal, then you're not heading anywhere. In fact, that's one of the frustrations that people have because they like easy, quick answers, right? So anytime I'm speaking, people tell me, okay, so what percentage of my income, because percentages are easy to work, what percentage of my income should I invest? I don't know. What's your income? What are you investing for? So it's never a percentage issue. It's a goal issue. So if I say I want that house, certain things become very clear. That house is 10 million. It's down here on the road here. No problem. 10 million, right? I don't have 10 million right now. So how am I going to get there? So you now start working backwards and say, if I'm earning an income of 30,000 shillings per month and I save 5,000 per month, save it somewhere, how long will it take me to get to that 10 million house? Forever. So it now means I have to find a way, I have to find a way to increase my income. So do you see the strategy? The goal affects my strategy. I love talking to young people because you see young people don't edit themselves. When I'm talking to university students, I ask them, what would you want? Then they say, I want to drive a Lamborghini. I want to be like Elon Musk. I want
Lamborghini on our roads.
Yes, listen. I told you, young people, you have to have ambitions.
Yeah.
It could be, the 4-wheel drive. It's called the Urus. Yes, I've seen one here, actually, here. So they want that, right? Then I ask them, okay, what kind of people are billionaires? Just think about it. Name the people who are billionaires, those ones who have done it legitimately. What do? Most of them, in fact, let me hazard that all of them are entrepreneurs. They are not employed. I cannot think of somebody who's an employee who saved and invested and became a billionaire. So if that is your goal, then you need to think, what business am I starting that is going to solve a problem for many people in order to do that?
But before they become billionaires, they're millionaires.
Correct.
So how do they become millionaires? Because if I'm listening to you and I'm thinking of Kenya, our politicians have more wealth than entrepreneurs and business people, because you'll find somebody's wealthy, but there's no business you can attach to his wealth. But he's very wealthy. Or if there's a business, there is an incongruence between what that person claims they have and that business. So
that's right. So, CT, you're trying to make me into a politician. I'm going to run away from that.
Actually, I am not trying to make you into a politician.
Yes.
You are a believer.
Yes.
I want to know the limits to which one can go to, because as you're speaking about having a goal, and I want to get rich, I was thinking I will become a politician. That's exactly what I was thinking. I will get elected.
That's true.
And I'll fight very, very hard to make sure I'm in the right committees.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is
sounds
that
like a good strategy, by the way.
it is a good strategy, because you will get there. But what I want our brother here to focus on is the tenets that one also needs to support this process.
No problem. So, first of all, let me debunk that myth, because I know many entrepreneurs in this country who have far much more wealth than the politicians that you're talking about. In fact, the politicians go to them, especially to fund their campaigns and various things that are going on.
Politicians have no limit on how much they think they need or want.
That is true.
So do not be fooled by the fact that they're going to ask for more. Doesn't mean they have. They just want more.
That's true. So let me not get into that. Let me get into this. How can you do this? So there are multiple ways. So as I said, we have to address the issue of income. So if you're talking about income, it is a simple equation about value. So here's the thing. To all the young guys who are listening to me, because this is something that we often get wrong. I see people coming for an interview, and they're coming for an entry-level job, and they're asking for salaries, and you're like, oh my goodness, which country are you in that you're expecting at an entry-level job to start earning hundreds of thousands of shillings? Okay? It's a value equation. If you are valuable, I'm stealing this from Dr. Miles Monroe. But Dr. Miles Monroe spoke to young people, and he said, if you are valuable, money will follow you. So create value. I give the example. This is my personal experience. My first job I ever got, I was unpaid for 2 months. I walked into the place. I said, I want this job. They said, we don't have a position. I said, I'll work for you for 2 months. I worked there unpaid for 2 months. After 2 months, they offered me the job. In 3 years, I was the head of department. Going from an unpaid intern to being head of department in 3 months, I loved my first boss, because he told me this when we walked into the room. He said, this is a small organization, get involved. Do the things. Don't just do your job. Do more. And I took him seriously. I was in the marketing department. I was in production. I was on wherever. I would finish my job, because it was a pretty simple job. I'd finish my job early in the morning. Then I'm like, what next? And before you know it, you have become so valuable to the organization, they'll pay you more. Listen to this. As an employer now, do you know the recruitment process is so difficult? So if I find somebody...
Why is it difficult?
Because there's so many people. There are so many people who come out of university qualified. They have papers.
Yep.
But to know, is this person... Can they do the work, or do they simply have papers? So if you're going through a recruitment process, it's difficult. So if I know someone I've met, like if I go to an organization like this and I saw some of the wonderful people, your producer here, Edna, and the others who are there, if I meet somebody who's excellent at their job, and I can see a job that what do?
You poach them.
You poach them. Because what are they? Valuable. So it's a value equation if you're going to increase your income. The second thing after that is if you're increasing your income, is then now knowledge as to how to invest. And this is the thing. It is not complicated. It is not complex, but it is a lot of information. So here's the problem. There are thousands of different investments, because that's the thing people say, which is the best investment? Which one? So it's to learn how do investments work and then get started. So you need to invest in that knowledge. Actually invest to understand how my money works. Because if you do that, now you're on the journey towards that wealth creation.
Let's take that break. It's 29 minutes to 9. Our guest this morning is Waithaka Katumia. He is the CEO of Centonomy Limited. Here to talk about wealth, managing your money, and we'll focus in the next half on debt. Because it's a big thing, getting out of a debt trap or avoiding the debt traps. And if you're in it, how do you get out of it? It's a big one to have this morning. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. Brought to you by Colgate. When it comes to service, delivery matters. And at Standard Courier Service, we deliver on time and never take forever, without losing your packages or taking you in circles, so you never have to keep guessing if you made the right choice for your deliveries, because we never cut corners when it comes to you. And get it all countrywide by dialing 0793 599 684 for the Standard Courier Services. Efficient, flexible, 24/7.
Journey. Check this out. It's a journey across the entire continent into a variety of cultural work. On this show, we'll be talking to the movers, shakers, visionaries, and makers who embody the meaning of modern Africa. I'm Ayanda Tavete, and this is AfriMax.
There are quite a few people who pretend that they will never read the new Nairobian newspaper. But you and I know very well that they all do. The new Nairobian, out every Friday. Nothing stays hidden. Best Reloaded. High schools, great music. Amplify.
Nataka kuenjoy nawe unataka kuenjoy.
Amplify every weekday from 11:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. Tatua. Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. Brought to you by Colgate.
Heavy in some parts. Let's talk at about 9 o'clock and see what it looks like then. Spice FM KE on Twitter. We keep things moving this Thursday.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
News with Weather Kakatumia, CEO of Centonomy. You're talking about managing your finances and building your wealth so that you have the ability to live the lifestyle that you want without needing to get up to go to work. Now, Waithaka, before we move into the debt conversation, out of every 10 people that you train, that you take through this thinking, which one comes back to say, teacher, thank you for healing me?
It's amazing because I like the way you're saying healing. The healing happens live as we're going through the session, because a lot of it, here's the thing, let me explain this. Many times it's not even the financial side. It's the emotional side. It's the historical side. So we have to address the human being, and that's the difference with Centonomy. Because listen, financial information is available. Please go on Google, find it. But using that information is very difficult because you have to come from the perspective of why do I do the things that I'm doing? So in the Centonomy class, we address you as a human being and say, where are you coming from? Some people have a history. They say, when we were growing up, in fact, I mean, that's one of the things you have to address. When I was growing up, my parents used to say, there's no money. Money doesn't grow on trees. And you could see money, but they're saying there's no money. What does that mean? And it's, like we were watching it and listening to these stories. And when somebody addresses that history, then they're able to address the future that they're coming for. So when you're saying who comes back, I encourage people, please go to the Centonomy YouTube channel. You will see all the testimonials of people who've come back. I also encourage you to read the book by our founder, Washeke Ndwati. It's a book called Making Sense. And she highlights 3 people in that story from different backgrounds. A young gentleman who's a farmer down at the coast, a lady who's an executive, and a young gentleman as well here in Nairobi who was in the NGO world, and how he built wealth. I mean, he made over 10 million shillings on his own, not even from his job, from using the networks that he has. It's an excellent book to go. So if you're asking about people who come back, there are many. And you'll find them, the testimonials on our YouTube channel.
So, debt.
Yes.
Debt is a big issue. People, find themselves in a position where they are heavily in debt. You ask them how they got there, they basically can't really track back how they got there. Now they are stuck in a situation where they need to get out. I'm sure you've encountered such.
Many.
What is the big issue here?
So maybe I start from the beginning. Can I give 3 quick principles that will help us around our personal finance that if everyone can begin to implement, you begin to see the results of it over time? So the quick 3 principles, everywhere I go, I must tell people this. Number 1, as a principle, pay yourself first. Okay? And in that debt question, it's an important one. Why? Because if you look at your debt repayment, the banks pay themselves first. Okay?
Yep.
Like if you look at, if you take a mortgage, of your first payment, majority of that payment is interest before it goes to the principal. So it's a principle of life. Pay yourself first. How do you do that? You pay yourself first by saving and investing first. Why do we say this? Because if you pay everybody else first, there's usually nothing left. You pay the government, you pay the church, you pay your landlord, you pay the bank, you pay the school bursar, you pay the supermarket, you pay your house helps, you pay everybody, whatever, and then we think we're going to save what's left. No. Flip that. When you receive your cash, standing order, straight to your investment, to your saving. And you paying yourself first is doing both, saving and investing. And they're not the same thing. Saving is putting aside cash for emergencies or for future investments. Investment is putting your money where it will grow faster than inflation. Key, because you've seen what inflation is doing to us now.
Yeah.
Number 2, track your spending. I've already said it, but if you can't do it for 1 month. It will shock you where your money is going. For many Kenyans, one of the shock is how much money they support relatives and friends with. Because that's usually unplanned for cash. Oh, funeral. Oh, wedding. Oh, a child without school. Oh, the cow. Track your for 1 month. It will shock you, first of all, how much you have and what the potential for that cash is. And then number 3, focus on assets. Listen to me. Assets put money in your pocket. And we forget and we make a mistake because, you see, they're marketed as assets. You've heard of asset financing for your car.
Yeah.
Let me explain to you. Your car is not a bad thing. I have a few of them by the grace of God. But my cars are losing me money. Let's be very clear. See, the car is sitting outside over here in the parking lot. It's losing me money. Now, it makes me very happy. I feel very good when I'm driving. When I'm in traffic, I feel excellent. It made my commute here very easy and convenient, but it's losing me money. An asset puts money in my pocket. Here's the difference. So I can use that same car if I needed to. That car, if it was on the road right now with a driver in it, and that driver is giving me 1,000 bob per day, that car suddenly becomes an asset. Do you get what I'm saying? Now, the problem is, that car, the way it is at St. Onomy, our founder coined this phrase, is called a flosset. It makes me look wealthy, but it actually takes money out of my pocket. Here's another one. If you've read any of Robert Kiyosaki's books, he tells you this, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He tells you your house is not an asset in the way that you think about it. Let me explain. If you own a home and you live in it, it takes money out of your pocket. Can I prove it to you? All of us in this room send money home to people who live in their own homes. In fact, they're not even just in their own homes, they're in a farm. They should be able to feed themselves.
And send you money.
And send you money. So the home is not an asset it saves you on the rent that you'd be paying, but it is not free to live in your own home. So I'm encouraging you to have other assets that will pay you to live in your home.
How do you quantify the peace of mind?
Of not dealing with the landlord.
Wacha kueleza kila mtu biashara zetu bwana. Hizo ni biashara zetu. Sasa wewe, everyone who's listening will know you and I landlords. Tatuletea shida. What I was referring to was the peace of mind that your car gives you. It contributes to your well-being.
Correct.
How do you quantify it? Because it is a contributor.
Correct.
To
Quality of life is something.
Yes, to the delightfully happy spirit that you came into
I
this
arrived.
studio with. Yes, exactly. If it was a ramshackle you were driving, you probably would have entered here with a frown.
100%. I
Yes.
agree with you that it does. However, the number of Kenyans and Africans, because now we train across Africa. In fact, we train across the world. Most of our students from outside of Kenya in the diaspora are from Africa. So, but we're training across the world now. Here's the difference. I could have that car and be extremely stressed because of the loan repayment on it. So, which one is more important? The joy of driving it or arriving here? I could have arrived in the same car, but been holding my head like this, wondering, how am I going to repay? I look good. Floss it. Do you remember what I was saying? I look like I'm doing well, but I'm not. And sadly, this is the case for many employees. So to quantify it is in this way. If I can have a strategy to own that thing without the stress that we are discussing right now, that is what we are aiming for. Can I quantify it in terms of money or anything else? No. But that's why I started this whole conversation by saying, what do you want? Because if you say, I want to drive that car, wonderful. I want it. How do we get there in a sustainable way? Because I don't want to own that car and my children can't go to school. I'm struggling to pay school fees. Do you see the priorities?
Oh, after 3 months, you're running away from the Shylocks and auctioneers.
Does that sound like quality of life?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. You see, I used you as an example, not like very many Kenyans who are living beyond their means and do not know exactly how to cope with life. And I guess that's the gap that you plug into, because you're saying, look, no, let's rationalize this whole process. You are here because there's something you want, and you think the way you're going about it as you're going to achieve it. You're saying, no, you're actually not going to achieve it that way. You will achieve it this way. Okay? I get that. But how exactly do you then? I gave the car as an example, but I was thinking of the very many other things that we do in our lives that prop our lives and make our lives better.
Yeah.
But you can't really quantify them in the way that you're quantifying it.
Even the house that you own and you
Yes.
live in, so you feel good when you're in it.
Yes.
You feel good that there's no landlord. But my brother, would you feel good living in that house and then wondering, how am I going to buy groceries this month? Would you feel good living in your house and then calling your children and saying, excuse?
You know, that question
Yes.
can't be answered with a straightforward single answer, because you may live in that house, and at the time you bought it, you could manage your life very well. And then COVID comes along and changes the equation in ways you could never have imagined or thought of or planned for. Okay? So now you have to rejig everything else.
Correct.
All right?
Yeah.
Now, does this training help people rejig in adverse circumstances?
Yes. Because this strategy for life is not a static one. Your budget is not static. Imagine it changes. Your income increases, you have to change your budget. Your income decreases, you have to change your budget. Inflation is happening, which it always happens, you have to change your budget. You have to be able to adjust in different spaces. And this is the thing. We as a company, Centonomy, you said COVID happened? It happened to us. Before COVID, we were 100% physical training company. We had a huge training facility that could fit over 120 people at a go. COVID happened. I still remember 13th March 2020, the president at that time, President Uhuru, came on the airwaves and said, all in-person learning has now ceased. Our business was about to shut down. The very next day, that Sunday is when we were talking with Washeke, our founder. Monday, we called the entire team in, and we called a consultant who had been talking about this thing called online learning. We had talked to them. We said, one day, we'll do it in a certain way. Called the guy in and said, tomorrow. That Monday is the first day we ever heard of this thing called Zoom. We had never heard of it before. And on Tuesday, all our students were migrated into this space called Zoom. Guess what, CT? We have never turned back. We are a fully online training company until this point. If we did not adjust at that point, today we would be dead. And so for all of us, we must be ready to adjust with the things that are coming, good or bad. Let me tell you, one of the hardest things to manage is actually a windfall. Have you noticed people win things like lotteries and things like that? Their lives are very difficult. Because now everyone thinks they have money, and because they didn't have the skill set to manage it, they don't know that 10 million is not enough to carry you for 10 years.
No, for the rest of your life.
No.
So when you get into some of these adverse situations that we're talking about, debt, and I think that's it's a word that's being thrown around, whether it's at a personal level or even if it's at a national level, which the two we can see. The question is, how do you deal with it?
So let's address this, the elephant in the room, this thing called debt. So a simple principle for us to apply around debt is this. Good debt goes towards assets. Bad debt goes towards consumption, including, in brackets, consumption assets like my car. Now, I did not say that the car is bad, but I said the debt is bad. Why? Because I'm losing money in that equation. I am paying more for the car than what it's worth, and the value of that car will decrease over time. Just like my TV. I know some people are saying, I don't know. Okay, buy a TV, no problem. If I bought a TV using debt, the TV is not a bad thing, but I'm losing money. Why? Because of the interest, I'm paying more for the TV than it's worth. And over time, that TV loses value. So that's consumption. So if I use debt for consumption, it's bad debt. I'm losing. Now, I didn't say you can't do it. I'm just saying understand you're losing money.
Yeah.
Good debt goes towards assets where assets grow in value. They put money in your pocket, or at least they maintain their value. That's good debt, okay? Because then you're getting a positive out of that equation. So how do people find themselves in that situation? Now, I have to be very careful when I'm speaking like this because we live in a country in which people live below the poverty line. And at that moment, it's about survival. Let me tell you, I don't know what I would do. God forbid I'm ever in a situation where I'm seeing my children are going hungry. I think I would take a mobile. I would. You know what I'm saying? I would never judge somebody in that moment for taking a mobile loan and saying, let's feed, we'll sort that problem another day.
Yeah.
However, what we have discovered over time is that it is not so much an issue that there was no cash, but the cash was mismanaged. See, I gave the example of takeout food, and people were saying, that's a middle class problem. You were spending 34,000 shillings on takeout food. Okay. Let me make it simpler for you. Our house help, she's a wonderful lady. We do our best to pay her above minimum wage, and I hope people know what minimum wage is for house help in Nairobi. The last time I checked, it was 13,571 in Nairobi County.
Minimum kabisa.
Minimum. And please don't come and tell me, she's living in my house or they're living in my house, so I'll deduct. Those are called benefits. So you should be paying that or above.
Okay.
The last time I checked, but we are far from that. So she's not a high-income earner, but she's not badly paid. We did an assessment of her income, right? And we found here's a quick one. We found every time we were calling her on her phone, there's a different song meeting us. We did an assessment of it. She was spending more than 10 shillings per day on all the songs that greet us when we call her on her phone. For a low-income earner, can you imagine what 10 shillings per day means?
3,000.
So
just 3,000 shillings a month.
And she's a low-income. Plus, she's also a very generous person. I love our house. She's wonderful. She's a generous person. She will buy things for my children. When she's coming, because she loves them so much, every Friday she'll bring a sweet. In fact, we had to reduce because there are always sweets in our house. And we are saying, where are they coming from? She's that giving, that kind of generous person. When you begin to add up all this generosity that you're talking about, it was significant. So even at all levels, that awareness is where the problem comes. So we are finding ourselves borrowing because we are living what you said earlier, beyond our means. And the thing is, we have never even measured what our means are. So we don't know what we're doing. So we get ourselves into this debt situation because we want what we can't afford at this point. And we didn't put a strategy to get there. And that's where our problem comes from. So even on a national debt, there are things we want, can't afford right now. And so we have for many years been borrowing a lot. Now, is this going to be too political? But I actually
there's
think
too political.
No, there's always things that are too political. But sometimes it requires a period of control in order for you to begin to find the freedom that you want. And the issue that we have with our personal finance, just even with our national finance, is that we are out of control. And the thing about coming into, when we talk about our classes, about personal finance, we will never tell you don't buy a car or don't buy a house or don't upgrade your phone. See, these are things that we like to do.
Yeah.
We'll never tell you that. We will say then, what is the strategy to do it? Because now you're taking control of what you have. If you're out of control, you can't manage it. And that's the key to it. So when it comes to debt, because you asked this, if you can figure out what is good debt, bad debt, the way to get out of debt is simple. It is this, first of all, know your debt. Because many people hide from it. If you've ever seen somebody in debt, they get many calls, they don't answer. This is because you don't know who it is who's calling. Answer. There was a wonderful testimonial from one of our students He came into that debt class, and he came back and he was just like, I even had debt from my wife. You know, I borrowed from her because her chama money had done, and I borrowed because in order. So he said, I wrote everything down. The SACCO, the chama, my wife, the car loan, whatever. You list them down and say, okay, good, this is my situation. Then you go to your income and say, out of my income, if I manage it, what could I do? And you can imagine for somebody like me, when I found I'm spending 34,000 on takeout food, what could 34,000 do in loan repayments? You see, now you begin to do those calculations. Then you say, okay, if I readjust and I put some of this here, it will begin to pay down my debt. Here is a principle. Time is the greatest consideration when it comes to debt, not even interest, time. The longer you have a debt, the more expensive it is. So what you want to do is pay your debt faster than required, extra payments towards your loan. And here's the process. So in the class, we have a whole system that you're going to do. You attack the loan that takes the shortest amount of time first. It's usually the smallest. Why? Because if you clear that loan, the money you are putting towards it, I can readjust it and put it to the next
loan.
And the next, and the next. But here's the thing, the problem with that. People finish first 2 loans. What do we do?
Rudishia mwili shukrani bwana.
And so, here's the thing. If you want financial freedom, it is not coming for free. It costs. And the cost is this thing that we hide from. It's a thing called discipline. And that's a hard thing to get around. Because discipline is based on a reward that you're aiming for. So you were asking about this earlier on. When I say what I want, that's my reward. If I don't have an outcome that I'm aiming for, why should I bother?
So how exactly does one become disciplined? Because it's a word that is used very freely.
Yeah.
And one assumes that once you hear it and you say, I'm disciplined, then you are it.
You need a discipline master.
Yes, exactly.
You need someone to whip you.
Yeah. So you set a goal and get accountability. And setting a goal and saying it. Let me embarrass myself here. I set a goal at the end of last year. Last year was a tough year for me. And I let go, health-wise. I ended the year at over 105 kilograms. All right? And I said, I couldn't even fit in this suit that I'm wearing for you here today. It was ridiculous. So I said, my goal for this year is to lose weight. So I didn't just say it to myself. I said it to my wife. I said it even to my team at the office. So my team hold me accountable.
Yeah.
So when I go to the office and it's somebody's birthday this week. Oh, Paul, we didn't have a piece for you or cake this. Do you think it's easy? No. But because you have a group of people around you who have that same mindset, then they challenge you to think differently. Can I share a short story?
Please share a short story.
In 30 seconds.
There's this guy called Rory Reid. He used to be a Top Gear, the show on BBC that he used to be a presenter on it. An amazing gentleman. He told the story of how he got onto Top Gear. And he said he auditioned. They called him back and said, guess what? You didn't get the role. So he went and told his friends. And he told his friends, I didn't get the role. One of his friends very calmly just said, change their mind.
Nice.
Look at the people who are around you. So he went and reshot an audition piece, sent it to the person who turned him down and said, please have a look at this. Maybe in future when you have another opportunity, you can. She watched it the next morning and said, I'm going to put this in front of the right people. 8 hours later, he got a call back from Top Gear and was told, you got the job. Because he set a goal and then he had people around him who hold him accountable and challenge him to be better.
Well said. Waithaka Gatumia, CEO, Centonomy Limited. We've been talking about managing your finances. Keep it here. In the next hour, we talk about managing your taxes. It's 9 a.m.
Situation Room, Kenya's big